Good afternoon, adult learners, and welcome to another episode of the EPALE Newscast, your monthly coffee break to hear the latest news in adult education and training in Europe. Welcome once again. My name is Andrea. I am the Deputy Director of the Lifelong Learning Platform, and I have the pleasure to deliver this newscast live on your screens, together with our President, Pina.
Hello, Andrea. Hello, everyone.
Before we start with today's news, I should remind you that you can watch live this newscast every month on the first Monday at midday, which means that you can already save the dates for the next ones until the end of the year. You already know when they are coming to you. And if you miss it, don't worry, because you can rewatch it as many times as you want on EPALE and on YouTube. Now that we got the formal stuff out of the way, let's start with today's episode, because today's episode will focus on one of the EPALE thematic focuses for 2023. You have seen that EPALE has launched them already, and one of them is aiming to engage learners in society and democracy. And it's actually dubbed Engage Skills for Democratic Life. Let's face it, the fact that the European Commission announced 2023 to be the European Year of Skills means that we all got to engage with this topic one way or another, and especially in adult education and training. We got to rethink the way we learn skills, the way we teach them, and somehow this has brought us all to reflect upon the ways that skills can actually enhance our democratic participation in life. So, Pina, what is going on this topic in the EU? What are the latest news?
Well, Andrea, you said it very well. There is a lot going on at the EU level on skills. Very importantly, the Employment Committee in the European Parliament has approved its resolution for the European Year of Skills 2023. Now, this is not the last step. It's still subject to approval of the plenary session of the Parliament in April. But it is a very important step because it recognizes a lot more the role of lifelong learning in skills development, a wider focus on transversal competencies. It goes a little bit beyond of only the initial focus on solely the labor market, which the Commission proposal was about. Then there is a lot more. Let's start with some of the few important documents, but also ways to engage with the European policymaking process from everyone. Firstly, I want to mention the European Commission launched a call for evidence and an open public consultation for the learning opportunities abroad in Europe for everyone. Now, we all know learning mobility is a great tool to learn and to develop key competencies, and especially for adults. And linked to the topics of mobility, I also want to mention the open public consultation for the European Qualifications Framework for Lifelong Learning. Now, the EQF is a tool to make national legislation, national qualification, easier to understand and a bit more comparable. In this way, we can finally certify skills, and it is important because we get to have a say on how this is done. So hopefully, also many of the watchers are going to contribute to the open public consultation. And last but not least, let me also mention another important initiative, which is the call for evidence for a proposal for a regulation on the EU talent pool, which is expected to be published at the end of 2023. As this is one of the foreseen priorities under the European Year of Skills, I suppose there is going to be a lot to discuss, and we better not miss the chance to engage, which is also the topic of today. But speaking of engage and speaking of the EPALE network, what is the EPALE community preparing on the topic engage, Andrea?
Oh, thank you very much, Pina. We have a lot cooking for you. First of all, let me start with the upcoming and exciting news around this topic. The Lifelong Learning Platform will have an online discussion on EPALE on March 29th. It's going to take place the whole day digitally, starting off with a discussion as of 10 a.m. Central European Time, a live debate with experts discussing how adult education and training can actually contribute to foster democratic values and to build more resilient societies. So looking at skills for life, in a way. And speaking of life skills, let me tell you that EPALE will be publishing a new episode of the EPALE podcast on life skills of the 21st century, how to foster democratic engagement. This is a podcast that is being created by our colleagues at the EAEA, the European Association for the Education of Adults, and we cannot wait to hear it. Perhaps I should also pass on to give you some of the news that EPALE has published in the very recent past. If you want to engage with the community, on the website you will find a blog post on volunteering skills for democratic-based life. We know that volunteering gives us a lot of competences or transversal skills that we can actually then use in other situations to live a full life in a democratic way. You have another blog post on training in secular values. Promoting a form of secularism is also skills that we find ourselves needing in some of the life situations. Teaching skills that matter in adult education is also another topic that you will find on EPALE. The way that we teach those skills in adult education is something that you do not want to miss. There's also a launch of digital scouts, so enhancing the digital literacy and participation in Europe through non-formal and informal learning. This is also, I'm not going to spoil you, I hope that you will hop on EPALE and learn some more. Another blog post on ensuring stronger democracy through citizenship education. We know that citizenship education is a transversal topic, especially in schools, but not only. We want all age groups to engage with citizenship education. It can indeed foster a more complete understanding of what democracy is. And last but not least, EPALE has published another blog post, and we want to discuss upskilling, because we hear a lot about this word upskilling. What is upskilling? Bringing those skills up in a way, updating them, enhancing them. Where do we go from this? It's a buzzword, and we want to really entangle it. So
many,
these are
many
the
posts to read, Andrea. This is extremely interesting. Many save the dates, many posts to read. Took a lot of notes. I hope everyone else did as well.
Oh yes, I really hope so. But don't worry not, for we're going to post all the links in the episode once it's done. So this was mainly the news from the EPALE community, but now, Pina, what is going on in the wider community?
Well, a lot again is going on the topic of skills, key competencies, and engagement. The core of, for example, the Lifelong Learning Platform, who just recently has held an event at the European Economic and Social Committee for the Civil Society Days to understand how civil society and social partners can engage and can be carriers of key competencies. Indeed, a very interesting topic. The main outcome of the discussion, not to our surprise, is that civil society would like more engagement in the European Year of Skills and in skills provision more in general. So hopefully this is something that throughout this year we can all engage with more. And a more in-depth discussion on this topic will be carried out in May with the Lifelong Learning Platform, the European Association for the Education of Adults, and the European Training Foundation on the role of civil society in skills provision. So stay tuned for more information on this. And last but not least, so much is going on in terms of events, resources, briefing notes, statements, and activities that a lot of civil society engaged in lifelong learning is developing in the framework of the European Year of Skills. Most of them are highlighting the role of skills in building resilient and democratic societies, especially when it comes to developing key competencies for democracy. So then again, a lot to share, to learn. I'm sure many of the links of today will be also helpful for developing even more positions, resources, and statements. And with this, I think I gave you a little bit of an overview. Of course, there is a lot more going on. But as you said, Andrea, there is many more episodes of this newscast to go more in depth about those activities. And maybe I wanted, yes, there will be, yeah.
There will be indeed, and I think this is just in as a final breaking news on EPALE. Tonight, EPALE will launch the new call for the EPALE Community Stories. This is already an iconic rendezvous for all the community. The initiative that every year collects stories from our community. Last year, the community was polled on memory. and looking back at our earliest memories of learning, and how the commitment still goes on. This year, we want to look at the future. We want to have an outlook on what the future holds for us and what's coming next. What skills are necessary to navigate these times? How do you imagine the future of adult learning? We know that in the last few years, we had a lot of unforeseen events, starting from the pandemic and going on with the current war, and navigating these times can be very challenging. So we want to hear from you. What's your story? How do you imagine the future of adult education and training? How can adult education and training help us navigate this future? So save the date for tonight. Start sharing your views as of tomorrow. I think this was the last item on our list. We're very happy to be delivering this newscast once again, and especially every month on the first Monday of the month. You can already save the date, and you will find the episode online on the EPALE website and on YouTube.
Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, everyone, for watching or for rewatching online. I hope this was informative. It certainly was for me. And I look forward to the next episode of the newscast.
You can already see it below. It's going to take place on April the 3rd and midday. Thank you very much. Have a good learning week.
Bye.